What's going on, guys? Nealguides here. Welcome back to another exclusive video for FUTBIN. Now in today's video we're going to go over the 4-4-2, probably one of the most balanced formations inside the game. There's so many different iterations of the 4-4-2 in FIFA, but in this particular one we're going to be concentrating on the 4-4-2 flat. This is the more attacking variation where your centre mid sit higher in contrast to the 4-4-2 second variation, and you're able to press the ball much easier. This is one of the best pressing formations, and a lot of the top tier pro players love using this formation because off the ball it's one of the best for pressing and winning the ball back. In fact, what I like to use is aggressive play, a combination of teammate contain, using presses, using traps, and of course aggressive slide tackles to win the ball back. The reason why this formation excels the most is because if you look at the 4-4-2 layout, you've got two banks of four and two strikers. It's easy to press every single part of the pitch because you naturally cover most of the area of the pitch. If the ball's in the top right, you can use your right mid to press, or your right striker. If the ball's in the top left, you can use the same. If the ball's in the middle, you can use your two strikers or your centre mid. So it's very good for pressing. So we're going to focus more on the aggressive side of this formation, but I'm also going to show you how to make it a bit more balanced if you don't like that aggressive style of play. So for the defensive style, we have personally left this on press or possession loss. This is the kind of Guardiola style. When you lose the ball, your team is going to press for 7 seconds. This is especially good that if you lose the ball, for example, in the final third, your team can recover the ball and you can start the attack again. It's one of my favorite features to use. Yes, it does tax on your stamina, but with Team of the Year and some of the players that you do have nowadays, I think you can get away with it because a lot of these players have good stamina. I'll go with the player choices over in the instructions as well. If you do want this to be a bit more passive, you can use the balanced defensive style. That's what I would say. For the width, we have left this on 37. Now don't forget, you are defending in a 4-4-2, but the 4-4-2 naturally defends quite wide, so that is why the width is below 50, because compared to formations like the 4-3-2-1, which is very common now on the pro scene, or 4-1-2-1-2 second variation, they're very narrow. You don't want to be creating those gaps when you're defending in the middle of the pitch, so you want your team to be a bit more compact. For the depth, we've gone with 65. Now, some of you may be aware, but if you go above 70 and above that region, the game has an auto offside feature. Now, this is really good if you want to play aggressive, but I would recommend leaving this on 65. It's a good balance. Don't forget, you can always use the D-pad tactic, offside trap, if you want to push players forward or to push your defensive line forward to press the ball. It's better to have control yourself. If you increase this too far, there could be a potential that you're getting counter-attacked all the time. So what I would say is, for those that are more highly skilled in the game, especially defensively, you can go towards the 70s and above. However, I would recommend 65, finding the balance first, and then if you need to, upgrade it or increase it after, or decrease it if you need be. The key thing is adapting it for your own playstyle. That's what makes the formation excel for yourself. Now for the build-up play, now this is a personal preference of mine. In the 4-4-2, I think you want to be quick. It's good when you're pressing, you want to be building up quickly. You don't want to be playing slowly. So I wouldn't recommend a slow build-up play because I think that's too extreme. It's too slow. Equally, fast build-up play is too quick. You could lose the ball, you can get countered very easily as well, especially with a defensive style. I would say balanced is actually one of the best things to use for the 4-4-2. I would say though, long ball could be something to consider as well. Long ball basically says to your players, make runs forward in the first 2/3, and those players make runs without you in actually doing an L1 trigger or a 1-2 or a creative run. So AI does help you a lot, especially when I'm playing. I'm not always doing 1-2s or concentrating all the time. AI really does help me out, especially if you want your centre mid to join the attack. In this case, my left centre mid can join the attack and create those attacking opportunities. So I would recommend leaving it on balanced. If you find it to be a bit too passive, you can always put this on long ball. For the chance creation, direct passing, it's probably one of the go-to chance creation methods. I think for the 4-4-2 it works very well, especially the way you have your two strikers up front, you have your midfield four that provide that support as well. Those players making runs, you've got your left mid and your right mid basically going forward. It's really good, and it works very well in the final third. They make those runs in dangerous spaces, and it's good for the meta of getting the ball down the wing, cutting it back and passing the ball to a striker for a first time shot. Now for the width, we've gone with 40. Don't forget the 4-4-2 is quite a wide formation naturally, so we just want to decrease that ever so slightly. But with 40, your left mid and right mid, they still pin against your left back and right back. So you're basically making a 4v4 with your left mid, right mid, 2 strikers up against your opponent's back line of 4 as well. For the players in the box, we've gone with 7. As I mentioned, the meta really passing the ball inside the box and then just passing the ball again for a second pass and doing a first time shot to get a goal, or just passing the ball from the wide area or crossing the ball in is very, very effective. Corners and free kicks, you can change this however you want to. I use 3 or 1. It just depends on your play style. If you're not too sure, you can leave this on 3. Now we go over to the instructions. Now, this is going to be the player choice here, I would say, is the most important. Because you're playing aggressive, you ideally want fast players in your team. The way to press quickly and effectively and efficiently and create those midfield traps, create those team press style plays where you're basically using teammate contain, doubling up, tripling up, and the defensive style to work properly, you want fast players. That way, when your opponent has the ball, you can switch to a player that's nearer and then just apply that pressure, run towards the opponent. So pace is going to be really at the forte in this formation. For the both strikers, we have them both on stay central, get it behind and come back in defense. I have 2 players here that are fast and quick. Griezmann and Ribery, both 5-star, 5-star, very dynamic, can take the ball on their feet, they can dribble, they can shoot on either foot, they can do skill moves. If you are going to play someone that's a bit more rigid like Ronaldo or Ginola, you could also put this player on balance where you might accept the ball a lot more to their feet as well. We have the comeback and defense for both of these players. Now, this is important. Before, back in FIFA 20, this formation was extremely good because the 2 strikers were tucking next to the midfield 4. What FIFA have done is they made a patch now. So the 2 strikers, they don't come back. So let's say you're defending inside your box. Those 2 strikers, they stay a bit more forward. So putting them on comeback and defense is not going to make them come and play so defensively. They will still stay forward. We're just telling the game, okay, we understand they can't go forward or go back past a certain section, but come back as far as possible. That way you have that link-up play for the counter-attack to the 1-2s between your striker and your right mids and your strikers and your midfield as well. Left mid, right mid, come back in defense, get into the box for cross and get in behind for both. So of course you defend, when you're defending, they come back so you have that 2v2 with your left back and your left mid and right mid, so you're both wingers and you're both your left back and right backs. Get into the box for cross, so when the ball is coming on the opposite side, that player makes a run, and get in behind, so when you are building up and you are attacking, those players make those darting runs in behind. Chance creation, do leave it unbalanced. The game is actually quite smart and understands what you want to do. If you, for example, have cut inside for your winger, that winger is always going to cut inside. There might be a situation where your right back has the ball on the inside and you want your winger to go wider. So leave it unbalanced. The game is actually quite smart enough to change it depending on where you have possession of the ball or where you are on the pitch. Now, as I said, compared to the 4-4-2 second variation, which is the more, I would say, stable version that's more defensive, this one, the key thing here is pressing. Win the ball back, applying pressure and being very attacking on the front foot, I would say. Because you don't have those CDMs, these players are naturally going to sit higher. So defensively, you'll be better to press the ball to be high up the pitch, but also for attacking, you're able to link up with your strikers and your centre mids much easier. We have one of the centre mids, stay back, stand edge of the box for cross and cover centre. This is going to be your pure CDM player. You ideally want someone here that's got good defensive ability, a Zakaria, a Kante. We'll go with the player choices in the end, but just a player like that that's quite good on the ball is what I'd recommend. If you can, try to get a player like Kante because they've got that ability to maneuver. But Vieira, for example, is a bit more clunkier, but he's much taller and has that defensive ability. So if we get countered, we have that safety net. Alongside him, you can either use a box-to-box or you can use a centre mid. Now, I'd recommend balanced and cover centre. Now, what happens is, this is why I recommend long ball, because when you put long ball on, this player kind of always makes that run going forward. But if you have long ball off, let's say you're using balanced build-up play, then I would strongly recommend you to put this player on get forward. So that way, whenever you get the ball, that player always makes that run. You want here an attacking centre mid, someone like a KDB or Perisic, someone that can join the attack, create the third man, because don't forget, your left mid, right mid and your two strikers are going to create a 4v4 with your opponent's back line. This centre mid is going to be that third man, the extra man coming from deep in midfield to create that space and be unmarked. So you want someone here that can ideally shoot and maneuver on the ball. For the centre back system, both on default, stay back. Same with the goalkeeper. And for the left back and right back, we've got them on balanced and overlap. Now, I would recommend on this one, just personally use stay back, because you can always push these players. This is why I say it's always better to use stay back while attacking and push these players forward yourself. If you want two players to go forward and attack, you're only going to have two centre backs and you're going to get counter-attacked very, very easily. I'd recommend even them both on stay back as opposed to balance, which a lot of people do suggest, because this way, if you want to push your right back forward, you can just do a 1-2. You can, for example, trigger your right back to make a run forward. You can do a creative run, a player lock. You can link up with your right mids. The key with this formation is doing those 1-2 backwards from your left mids and your right mids to your left back and your right backs, from your strikers to your centre mids, and from your strikers to your wingers. The 1-2s and the quick tiki-taka play and the link-up play is what's really going to make this formation excel. That is, if you give this player to formation to an average player and a top tier player, the key differences that I see a lot of the time is those 1-2s. Always doing those 1-2s, letting that centre mid make that run, letting those wingers make that run, let those players make those runs in behind. So 1-2s is very, very important, and doing 1-2s back from your left mid and right mid to your left back and right back is also very, very important. The link up play here to create that 2v2 against your opponent is very good. Don't forget, especially if your opponent is playing a narrow formation like a 4-1-2-1-2 or 4-3-2-1 or 4-3-1-2, a very narrow formation, you can exploit the wing areas with both two wingers, I would say, in terms of being your right mid and your right back, or your left mid and your left back. And that's what I'd say with that. And don't forget, defensively, you're very, very sound. You're defending in a 4-4-2. And that is why you cover most of the pitch. Is very balanced defensively, because you cover both the wide areas and the narrow areas. So against most formations, you will be fine. You also have that adaptability of having two strikers up front, two wingers, and a centre mid also joining the attack as well. Now, for player choices, I'd recommend, me personally, I like to have two agile players here: a Ben Yedder, a Pele, a Eusebio, a Ribery, a Griezmann, upgraded ones with a 5-star. I like to have two quick players on the board that are quite versatile. If I had a bit more finances, I'd probably have like a Ginola here, or even a Benzema, to be fair with you, or an Mbappe, someone that's very, very quick on the ball. I like either have one clunky and one agile, or two agile players here. But in my opinion, never two clunky players. Left mid and right mid, the key thing here you just need is pace, good agility and balance. A Salah, a Mane, for example. And Mbappe works very, very well on the wing. You want quick players here that have got good sprint speed and good agility and balance. For the centre mid, ideally, someone like Vieira, someone that can just sit back, a Zakaria, a Kante. This player's job role is to protect the back four. So if you lose the ball and your centre mid is high up the pitch, you have a player here that can recover. But make sure this player is fast, because sometimes you might be pressing with this player, but equally you might need to be able to run back and defend. So make sure you have someone who's got that ability. Next to that player, I like to have a player that's either box to box like Ronaldo. And if later on, if I want to be more aggressive, I can sub on, for example, a Perisic here. Perisic, that card is very, very good as a sub. I like to use players like that. Or players that can shoot, a KDB, have an attacking centre mid as Zidane. Someone that can shoot, get into the ball, create a third man, and be deadly inside the box. And for the left back and right back is just really about pace. And same with the back line. Don't forget, when you're pressing, you have to be able to recover and run backwards if you make that mistake. And that is the 4-4-2 custom tactics and instructions. Don't forget, I said you can just fine tune these things. That's the key thing here. Remember, fine tune things for your playstyle. If you find press out possession loss being a bit too aggressive for your playstyle, just put it on balanced. The way to make a formation 10 out of 10 for yourself is just making this fine tuning and the small changes to make it perfect for your playstyle. Thank you very much for watching, and of course, I'll catch you in the next one.